Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. Today I was just going to go through Grayscale, which you may have heard of around and about the crypto sphere, whether that be recently or in the past. So we're just going to have a quick overview as to who they are, a bit of information that's come out in the last couple of days involving those guys, and how Grayscale tends to affect the markets as well. So without further ado, let's go straight into this and learn a bit more about Grayscale and some other bits and pieces too. So Grayscale is partly, or mainly actually to be fair, involved with currency investing in terms of digital or cryptocurrencies. So these guys are essentially what we would deem as like asset managers. And just to put this into context, I was looking into seeing if I could join Grayscale, but I don't think I've got enough money just yet to do that. But they are looking for people who have something like a minimum of $200,000 in terms of household income as a minimum to be able to start investing, which I think is quite interesting. It just shows you kind of the level or the amount of people or the type of people that would be able to begin to even get involved with a company like Grayscale. But also it's including people who are accredited investors, so it's not just about individuals like you and I who maybe have a load of money together, but it's also to do with accredited investors who obviously do this for a living essentially. So yeah, there's quite a substantial benchmark to begin with, and even from entities perspective, which is quite amazing, sort of $5 million liquid assets as a minimum. So that kind of gives you the idea of what you need to be sort of a serious investor in this space. And you can kind of also imagine that there's probably a lot of people out there, particularly in the elites and those that have saved well and in a position to be able to do this kind of thing, how much money Grayscale can formulate as a collective unit to potentially not necessarily manipulate markets, but the ability of, if certain news comes out or in and the infrastructure of communication they have within the asset management group, you can clearly kind of identify in your minds how easy it is for the market to chop and change, as we've seen in the past with gigantic dumps. And it usually, not saying it always is them, but majority of the time it always links back to the likes of Grayscale, who are responsible for these kind of situations. So it's really interesting. Do take a look at their website. You'll find out a lot of really good information on here. But another thing to point out here, this is an article from last year, actually around August 2020. And what I find interesting here is they currently posted, when they say currently, I mean obviously August last year, boasted over $5 billion in assets under management. Now I thought that's quite amazing because it's a substantial amount of money in the crypto digital assets, but they've also had an increase of 40% since the last quarter. Now that's fine, but let's look at this now. A year later, they are now boasting over $20 billion, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. Now, over the last 12 months of trailing at 236% in the positive. Wow. This shows you guys how many people are trusting and involved in Grayscale. And one of their greatest clients, of course, is ARK Finance or ARK Investments, owned by Kathy Woods. I'll do a video on her perhaps in the next couple of weeks. Absolutely fantastic individual in the investment space, a really good, inspiring person, both in general and of course for women. And do go check her out on various sources, various articles. She does some fantastic speeches and things like that. And these kind of guys are very heavily involved in taking shares within the Grayscale trusts and hedge funds. So that you can see how much money is being thrown in this. I mean, this, for example, just in the Bitcoin trust, as of I think this one's from a couple of days ago, $7.8 million worth. Like, this isn't small amounts of money, guys. Like, I don't know if I'll ever see $1 million or £1 million in my lifetime. Let's hope so. Let's hope crypto goes the way we think it will, and we get. You imagine like making that much money on XRP or something, and going, yeah, do you know what? Actually, I fancy joining some Grayscale activity here. Here's $10 million. Go see what you can do with it. Could you imagine doing that? But look at all these kind of elements here where ARK invest, not just of course in Grayscale, but I thought some of these really interesting things like the Signify Health, Charles Schwab, who again is very good person within finance, of course, Coinbase, investments all over the place, ARK, Novartis, gigantic pharmaceutical company, and the list goes on. So these guys are no, they're no sort of like kind of not knowing what they're doing in the finance world. And they've been doing it for a number of years with fantastic, gigantic transactions. This is just from like 19th of July. All of these. Mental. So that's what I wanted to sort of emphasize, is that there's loads of financial investment companies already involved with Grayscale. Here's another one. JP Morgan, absolute gigantic financial institution for the last 100 odd years. Go and check them out in their historical information. Really interesting company, really interesting how they were founded and progressed over the last 100 years. Some good, some bad news. But in particular, what was interesting for me was that JP Morgan were now letting their wealth management clients, or their clients of their investment systems, being able to invest in Grayscale. Now, Osprey, which we'll go on to on another video, but Grayscale in particular is the one that we're talking about here. And when you've got an institution like JP Morgan announcing things, especially recently, this is literally yesterday's news at the time of this recording, this is phenomenal. Now, Grayscale doesn't just operate anymore with Bitcoin and Litecoin. It has a substantial portfolio of assets that you can possibly think of, Filecoin and many others that have been added. And you see news reports every now and then of more and more of these assets being added to their portfolios for big investors to be able to take shares, take opportunities in these areas. And the reason a lot of people would take out in terms of Grayscale as opposed to perhaps like Binance and KuCoin and all these other exchanges is just from the risk element. Now, I'm not saying like Binance and KuCoin etc. are not responsible or secure lines, because I use them myself, and obviously I use a ledger, as you know, to secure a lot of the assets addresses when I'm done with all the exchanges and trades. But the fact of the matter is, if you've got money, like serious money, you are going to do it through this kind of portfolio system. There's no doubt about it. And it opens up to the Wall Street. It opens up to all the big financial institutions, some you may not even heard of or know about in the whole world. And that's what this is about. So when you see news articles of like major dumping in markets, a lot of it can be strategic, but a lot of it, because of the asset management side of things, is almost recommendations and thought processes around, actually, we know that this is going to happen, or we know that this is going to happen. We advise doing this or that, or they do it for you, obviously, as asset managers. And that's when you see the gigantic dumps. Whenever you've seen like Bitcoin drop like significant amounts of money, or other assets that follow suit, 9 times out of 10, like I said at the beginning, this is not a witch hunt or anything like that. Everyone's got the right to do what they want with trading and asset management, etc. But 9 times out of 10, it's big institutions like Grayscale that are responsible for these kind of big major drops. And that's just something, as an investor, as like a retail investor like you and I, or normal general public out there, something to be aware of, that there are institutions out there like this that have a substantial amount of assets, crypto assets, that they could literally use at any moment in time to manipulate the market, essentially. And I'm not saying they do it on purpose or whatever. Of course, sometimes they might be doing that to shake everyone else out and gain more and more shares of them, because that's their goal. That's the financial goal of many people, is to obliterate competition and become richer and richer and more powerful in these areas, and then go and invest in other areas. Like we see with ARK, where we just pointed out a number of unbelievable projects here. Beam Therapeutics. These are all gigantic pharmaceutical and medical application companies that I know of particularly and personally, as well as, of course, my major financial institutions like Coinbase, who obviously just had the listing on the exchange, etc. as well. So there's some phenomenal amounts of money and phenomenal pieces of information that come out that you can now clearly see how this can affect markets, how this can affect you and I on a daily basis. So do keep these in mind, that the big whales out there, you think you know, they're nothing compared to these kind of asset management companies, nowhere near. And they're just another level, an absolute another level. Forget Elon Musk and all this with the memes and the conversations of Twitter and stuff that manipulate markets or whatever. These guys can do serious damage collectively. And it's not just Grayscale, like I mentioned, there's loads of different ones. I will do one on Osprey and a couple of other the funds as well. Here's another point of interest as well from a few days ago. So Grayscale have joined up with CoinDesk, but not just CoinDesk in general, but their actual index. So what's really interesting here is that now Grayscale are looking to really participate in the DeFi space. Now, the DFX is really interesting category, which I will do a video on. It looks like I will do a lot of videos for you guys, but here's a small example of some of the ones that CoinDesk DFX already had within their asset management group. And this is now what Grayscale are looking to partnership with as well. Now, guys, we're so early still in the stages of crypto and learning together and investing together. This is just the beginning. The amount of money that is going into crypto, it's like when people said there's no way ADA could get to $100 price or $1,000 price because the market needs to be trillions and trillions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. And I was sat there months ago saying, right, what's the problem? It's going to happen. The amount of money that is being thrown into this space is incomprehensible. You can't even imagine it right now. The amount of money is phenomenal. Let's have a look at this, for example. $4.4 billion has just been from blockchain startups in the last quarter. This is incredible. So startups in blockchain have raised over 4.3 billion in the second quarter this year alone. Bear in mind, we're still on the end of the pandemic. We're still in economic crisis around the world, whether you like it or not. And this is still occurring. And this is just small amounts of money. The $1 trillion are being pumped in. I've done videos recently on all these CBDC money coming in from government schemes and expenditure, the money that's coming from hedge funds and asset management classes like we've just spoken about with Grayscale. The money will come in. There is no doubt about it. In Germany, I'll post the video at the end of this one, similar things have happened. More and more money, it's like 350 odd billion euros was thrown into the equation. As soon as this, more and more this happens across the world, we will get to these $1 trillion marks, and these prices that we see today across the board are nothing right now compared to what they will be in 5-10 years time. It's like the internet back in the day when it first started and everyone missed out, including myself because I was probably too young and didn't even know what investments were. That's where we are right now. The excitement, the positivity, not even the hay fever can stop me from getting excited about this. But I just wanted to bring all of this to your attention to let you a brief intro into Grayscale, their existence to you guys, how they may affect you as an investor, and just generally as well, and all the other big, massive institutions, financial institutions, investment corporations, how much money is getting thrown around. We are literally at the beginning still. Yes, crypto's been around for a number of years already, but it is literally so early. So early. So don't panic about these markets right now, because I'm telling you, this is nothing. Wait until a few years time when we look back at these moments and we're like, wow, look how low everything was. Please do let us know in the comments below what you think of Grayscale, what you've seen recently in the news about them, and how are you annoyed by the manipulation opportunities that they have, the dominance that they potentially have. Please do let us know about any others that you want us to cover as well. And anything crypto related, of course, is more than welcome in any of the comment sections on any of the videos. Please do comment, and we do always like to try and reply to you as much as possible. Please do like and subscribe, really helps the channel out as well. But other than that, guys, I hope you found this informative and really interesting, and I will do more and more videos about this as we go along. But until then, guys, I hope to see you and all our crypto assets on the moon. Take care, guys, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.